Meet quality guru Perry Johnson. He's a rock-solid conservative like you and me. Perry loves statistics, motivation, quality,
perfection.
When your car door closes just right, thank Perry Johnson. When you even have a job in the American auto industry, thank Perry Johnson. American automobiles weren't always the gold standard. Perry Johnson literally wrote the book introducing ISO 9000 quality standards to the American automobile industry. Perry for president?
Can you really think of a profession more desperately in need of quality than government?
Perry says that by cutting just 2% of discretionary federal spending each year, the size of our bloated budget will soon be balanced. Watch Perry Johnson's behind-the-scenes television show every Sunday night on Newsmax. Perry Johnson is the candidate for president who can solve America's debt crisis.
I'm Perry Johnson, and I approve this message. Ladies and gentlemen, we're having a lot of fun with this reality series, but we have some serious problems in this country. We have crime in the street that have run rampant. We have a problem with inflation. We have a problem with parental rights. We have a problem with woke. We have a problem with our borders. But the most serious problem that we're facing is our debt crisis. Our politicians have let the spending go out of control, and it's run rampant. In fact, at this point, we are $32 trillion in debt. We were concerned 23 years ago when we were a few $1 trillion in debt. But it's reached the point where we're now paying $610 a month per family just on the interest on our debt. And this is a crisis that is extremely serious that we must address. You see part of the result of this every day when you go out and you have to spend $3.50 for a gallon of gas as opposed to $1.75. But it's something that politicians have caused by their rampant spending because they love to spend your money. And it's time that we make a change because we need someone outside of Washington. In fact, someone that has spent their entire life bringing quality and efficiency to companies. And I want to bring quality and efficiency to the federal government. In fact, I wrote a plan on exactly what to do. 2 cents to save America. In that plan, we changed the entire approach that the government currently has. Right now, when they get a budget, they make sure every single penny in that budget is spent. In fact, they incentivize people to do just that. We're going to do just the opposite. We are going to incentivize people to save 2 cents on every dollar. If they do, they get a bonus. If they don't, they don't. I know many people say this is impossible. But the reality is that America has a history of doing the impossible. Think of the very foundation of our country. You go back 250 years, we had to fight an army that was the most powerful army in the history of the world. We had to do it without guns. In fact, we didn't even know how to fight. And we weren't even allowed to have muskets. We had to actually steal them and hide them. But you know what? Even with that fledgling general that they called George Washington, we ended up doing the impossible. And we beat the most powerful army in the history of the world. Keep in mind that we go and take a look at all of our forefathers, whether you're talking about Rockefeller, Vanderbilt, Henry Ford, Edison. We have a history of doing things the world looks upon us and says, wow, because we are a nation that has always done the impossible. We can do it again. Because right now, we are in a crisis. And when we're ever in a crisis, we always come through. I know that with my 2 cent plan, we can balance the budget, stop inflation, secure Social Security, secure Medicare, secure our national defense, and put us in a position where we stop inflation so we can afford to live again.
Oh, hey, buddy. What movie do you want to watch?
You're going to love it. My favorite show, Perry Johnson in Primetime.
Sounds great. Chips? Oh, I heard this is a great episode.
It is. Hello, I'm Perry Johnson, and I'm entering the most exciting time in my entire life. I am running for President of the United States, and you're going to be running with me.
Michigan businessman Perry Johnson is running for president with a plan to save the economy. It's called 2 Cents to Save America. He's also airing a reality TV show giving voters an inside look into his campaign.
We came to Iowa on the day of the Trump event. We ended up having a little rough go in the beginning because it was raining. We do have a little bit of rain here, a little more than I anticipated, but so be it. See how the road is closed? Parker?
I went that way last time.
Oh, you can? Okay.
This is why Perry doesn't drive.
I've almost been killed 3 or 4 times. I just didn't want to trust the fourth. Who would have known that we were going to end up with this kind of a downpour? Who would ever imagine that at a Trump event you have virtually no people? Because this doesn't happen. Now, we knew Trump wasn't going on until 7 o'clock, but we know there are always a lot of people there in the beginning. In this case, it was a very sparse crowd.
I am here today with Perry Johnson, GOP candidate, right outside the Trump event, and I have to ask Perry, why are we here?
Well, these are voters. I don't think you can win an election in Iowa unless you want to go out there and meet the people, shake their hands, and they have a chance to get to meet you. And I'm here to try to win every vote.
What do you think is the main message you need to get through to Trump supporters to bring them over to vote to you?
I agree with most everything that Trump did, except he spent too much money. I also know that we had an election and he lost. If he's going to run against Biden again, and Biden has this infrastructure which is much greater than it was before he ran, Trump will end up losing again. I think the race is wide open right now. One of the candidates even proposed that we changed the voting age to 25. Now, that may be the dumbest thing that I've ever heard.
Vivek Ramaswamy did post about his interesting take on voters and how he wants to increase the voter age to 25 for some Americans. You had some pretty strong response to that. Do you care to elaborate?
He's nuts. The Republicans have been ignoring the younger crowd for what, the last 25 years? We have to do just the opposite. How are you ever going to have people vote for you if you were going to take the right to vote? Why would you alienate your voters? Our job right now is to try to touch base with the younger voters, and I think the Republicans have missed the boat there because we need to get more of them involved in our process and our party. And that's a weakness that I want to correct because I want to go after the young vote. People 18 are serving in the military. People 18 are in a position where they have responsibility. We certainly don't want to be in a position where we disenfranchise them and don't give them the right to vote.
Well, so what's going on? They canceled this event then?
They did, which is nutty.
Well, for heaven's sakes, though. When the weather clears off, there were going to be thousands and thousands of people here.
He was concerned. They may have done some strategy on it, did some polling to determine how many were going to be there, and it wouldn't look good.
No, very unfortunate.
It cleared up rather dramatically by about 2. In fact, the rain stopped. It ended up being a perfect day. I was kind of shocked by how few people were actually there, but we still had a chance to talk to people, and it became a particularly good day for us because of the fact that Trump canceled. Perry Johnson? You did, yes. Do you live in Iowa?
Yes.
Good, we finally find somebody who lives in Iowa.
Oh, you're joking, right?
Oh no, I'm not kidding. I would say 75% of the people that I talk to, because I said hello to people, do not live in Iowa that came here. Everywhere I go! Here! He is! Ah, great to see
Got
you.
the video of you on the tractor running the tractor. Saw that on your
Yeah.
site. It's great, man.
Yeah.
Good to see you guys.
And
And
we all-
the Fire Biden signs. I'm digging those action, right?
Hey, Mike. How we doing?
All right, nice to meet you.
Well, I met you actually. I sat next to you when we went to Joe Mears. You came, you had dinner. It was in Michigan. I was running for governor.
you were running
I was the guy. They kicked me off the ballot. We would have won Michigan.
I remember that now.
We were like a lock. So it was great, and I do have your pillows. And then you recommended that I try your sheets.
Right on.
Remember?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
You take care.
Tractor ride right here.
Hey. People are tweeting me about the tornado that never happened. Trust me, I was right there. It was a beautiful day.
Well, how did your event go today?
Couldn't have gone much better. How did your event go?
Touche.
Well, they may not have had enough people.
So you think that was the reason versus the weather?
I know it was. Well, Trump obviously canceled because there weren't enough people. When I held rally in Detroit, he had to take off when it was dangerous to take off. The pilots told him they couldn't take off, but he made them take off anyway because he wasn't going to miss that event. That place was packed. I expected something like that in Iowa, and it turns out that it was just the opposite. But I do understand why he didn't want to go, because it doesn't look good to have a huge stadium with only a handful of people.
The only thing that matters to Trump
There's a lot of people.
is the crowd. Yeah, like he may not have even had 1,000 people.
I think the crowd, in my opinion, would actually have been bigger than he thought. It is funny. When you type this and you miss some of these words, it's really very funny. Some of these lines.
Program that hears it, or you guys actually hear just like transcripts it?
Yeah, it's comical sometimes because they leave it out. Now, there are some people here that obviously don't think it's very important. They left out Iowa. They have "it's" instead of Iowa.
Homeschooling our kids on the homestead, and
Well, then you
doing
wouldn't
that.
be objecting to my getting rid of the Department of Education.
Not at all. It'd be nice to have some of that money back so that we can actually spend it on our
Well,
kids.
that's what they should do.
And then what they're doing with the money is
It's
something else
hopeless.
entirely.
This is massive.
Well, you deserve a big crowd.
Ah,
How you doing, buddy?
fantastic.
Good to see you. I don't
Yes,
know
I
if you
remember. Remember?
Yeah.
With Pence,
Pence.
right?
That's it. I
yes.
love it. I
That's
love it.
fantastic.
Hey,
I love it.
Bob, where's Bob? Where'd Bob go? Bob, come here.
This is with Pence.
Barry Johnson. I met him at the Pence
And Pence,
rally.
remember?
I want you in Trump's cabinet, sir, if you don't win, okay?
I'm planning on winning.
I know that. I'm just saying if, because I just think you're something else.
Well, I'm Perry Johnson, and I'm running for President of the United States. Now, I have a 2-cent plan, 2 cents to save America. You see the book. We're going to cut 2 cents out of every dollar. That means the government's not going to be spending all that money. They're reducing it every year, and we are going to balance that budget. And I know you guys are probably going to throw stones at me, but I disagree with our Vice President about Ukraine. I think it's ridiculous to send $100 billion to the Ukraine when we're going broke. I say America is going to stay the greatest country the world has ever known. And God bless Iowa, and God bless America. I wanted to say that I think DeSantis is making a huge mistake by not coming here. And I just don't understand it.
So
It was 7 minutes, was it?
yeah, well, so I knew you were in deep because by the time that you finished point number the Ukraine thing, you were 2 minutes in.
How long did you go?
7 minutes, 11 seconds.
Well, the problem is, if you
There
really...
was just too much applause.
If you...
Too much applause.
There was a lot of applause.
I couldn't talk over all the people cheering.
Governor Ron DeSantis met with Japan's prime minister as part of a 4-country trade mission to build foreign policy relations.
Wow, Governor Ron DeSantis begins world tour in Japan. Now I understand. Makes perfect sense. I get it. That's why he wasn't at Faith and Freedom. He wants to go to Japan to win their vote. Wow. What a character.
He's got a fair amount of funding behind him. And there's some interesting things related to his super PAC. So his super PAC recently hired Jeff Rowe to run the super PAC. But the more interesting thing is a gentleman by the name of Robert Bigelow. So Robert Bigelow is a billionaire from Nevada who owns Budget Suites of America, which he founded. He's also the founder of Bigelow Aerospace, an aeronautics company and outer space technology company. Bigelow has close ties to Harry Reid, former Senate Majority Leader. Reid famously led the charge to fund a program from the Pentagon's budget without any debate on the Senate floor that gave $22 million to Bigelow Aerospace for research on aliens and UFOs. So now Bigelow, it turns out, is the single largest donor not only to DeSantis' gubernatorial campaign, but also to the super PAC, where he gave $20 million. And now in Time magazine, in a Time article, says, I will give him more money and go without food. So he gave him $20 million, and now a billionaire is saying he's willing to go without food in support of the campaign.
Well, obviously he must love DeSantis. I think he liked that $22 million he got too to start his business. That was probably good.
If he can go without food, maybe he's an alien.
Well, all I can say is this is a guy that loves DeSantis. The question I have is, do they have some sort of deal?
It seems like there's more to the story.
Well, no. This is a guy that loves federal money. All right? And I saw it, hey, it's all the time. These guys approach a senator, they approach a congressman, they ask for an earmark for some obscure program, and they get it. $20 million, no debate, and it's why people hate Congress and why they really believe maybe Congress spends too much for programs like this. No debate, just poof, hey, here's 20 million bucks.
All I know is if you have a billionaire saying they're willing to go hungry, there's something there.
There's more to the story.
Yeah.
Meet quality guru Perry Johnson. He's a rock-solid conservative like you and me. Perry loves statistics, motivation, quality,
perfection.
When your car door closes just right, thank Perry Johnson. When you even have a job in the American auto industry, thank Perry Johnson. American automobiles weren't always the gold standard. Perry Johnson literally wrote the book introducing ISO 9000 quality standards to the American automobile industry. Perry for president?
Can you really think of a profession more desperately in need of quality than government?
Perry says that by cutting just 2% of discretionary federal spending each year, the size of our bloated budget will soon be balanced. Watch Perry Johnson's behind-the-scenes television show every Sunday night on Newsmax. Perry Johnson is the candidate for president who can solve America's debt crisis.
I'm Perry Johnson, and I approve this message.
Perry, I just got a video from John. I'm going to put it on the screen.
How does Perry Johnson stack up against Joe Biden? Perry versus Biden is the fight we need. It's the fight we've been waiting for. The conservative with a plan versus Sleepy Joe. It'll be the matchup of the century. Oh, it's true. It's damn true.
Don't underestimate Joe's ability to things up.
No cameras.
This Obama clip is hilarious. He completely trashed Joe. I mean, I'd like to see a real debate between Joe Biden and Perry Johnson.
I'm not going to get political here, but what I will say is I've seen Perry Johnson's show. The guy's got a lot of energy and he's got a plan. If I were Joe, I'd be intimidated to debate him. Me, I don't get intimidated.
Look, I can debate Perry.
Mr. President, what did you mean when you said not to underestimate Joe Biden's ability to things up?
Well, first, thank you for the question. And look, Joe's a good friend of mine, but Johnson's smart, he's quick, and he's proven himself to be a formidable opponent. So, I don't know if Joe could take him. But I could. Time to finish up this eagle. Have a nice day.
Why are these politicians ignoring the debt crisis? Inflation is out of control.
I'm happy they're saying things that are getting people's attention. Maybe they'll pay attention to that 2-cent plan. Let's face it, our spending has gone nuts. We are now $32 trillion in debt. We just wrote a check for $900 billion in interest alone on our debt. That is $610 per month per family. This is craziness.
Hi there.
Hey, Tammy, how are we doing on those donations?
Well, you're not going to believe this, Perry, but we just did that mailing, and we got over 2,000 donations in 2 days.
You're kidding.
It's amazing. And in addition, people are in love with this Fire Biden sign. Is there any way we can get any more printed?
Well, I'll check on that. Sounds great.
Sounds awesome. Let me know as soon as possible.
I will, Tam. You got it.
All right. Bye.
Bye. You are a very likable guy. even though, frankly, you spent way too much money. And what I'd like to do is to debate you, because I think the public has a right to know all the mistakes you made. Nobody's going to deny you're a likable guy. Even though I don't like any of your jokes, I think you really are a likable guy who loves to spend money. And I would like to challenge you to a debate so we can iron these things out.
Okay.
Anytime, anywhere. You getting scared?
I'm shaking.
I'm going to warn you ahead of time. No holds barred. This is a town hall meeting. Anything goes. There is not going to be a moderator to stop you. So when I ask a question, you're going to have to answer or look bad.
I'll answer the question. And you name the place, you name the time, I'll be there.
You got it. I say we do it in Iowa.
My favorite state.
Okay, you got it, you got it.
All right.
I think what you need, though, is this. I think you need my book, 2 Cents to Save America. It's a plan to cut spending. Because let's face it, you spent way too much money.
Well, you know, it was only $1 trillion, and Trump got in office, and he damn near doubled that. So, you know, you Republicans are good at passing the blame, but you're also guilty of doing the same.
I mean, I think you're both nutty. Think of this. I mean, you act like $1 trillion is a $10 bill. Every time we go $1 trillion in debt, that represents roughly $8,000 per family for every trillion. Now we're sitting there looking at $32 trillion. That's essentially $250,000 a family. I think you guys spend too much money. You really need this book. I would read it tonight.
Well, thank you so much, and I do hear your voice, and I'll read this ASAP.
And I'm looking forward to this debate.
You're mine.
Oh no, you are in real trouble. If you need any pills to help you sleep at night, because I know you're going to get nervous, we'll give them to you.
It's okay. I got a drawer full. It's covered by Obamacare.
On this show, I'm going to lay out my plan to solve our nation's debt crisis, balance the budget, and reduce inflation so that we can all live again. Just last year, the government took in $4.9 trillion in taxes. Seems like a lot of money, but we spent $6.27 trillion. This excessive spending has not only weakened our nation, but hurt every American through massive inflation. When you went to the store and bought eggs for $4, you could thank the government. And when you have to go to the gas station and spend $3.50 for a gallon of gas, thank the government. The reckless spending has to stop. And with my 2-cent plan, we can do just that. My plan is to freeze the budget and cut 2 cents of every dollar on discretionary spending every year. In addition, I will incentivize department to reduce their spending because instead of spending it, they're going to make sure they cut the budget by 2%. In fact, they're going to get a bonus if they achieve just that. As you can see, doing this will lead to a balanced budget and an eventual surplus that will unleash this economy, reduce inflation, keep our military strong, and secure vital programs like Social Security and Medicare. We can do this in America because we've done the impossible before, and we can do it again. Let's work together and ensure that this nation continues to be the greatest country on earth.
Despite his announcement, President Biden won't be his party's nominee next year.
Well, right now we're not sure, but there are a few folks that are getting ready to throw their hats in the race. We have Michael B. Jordan, Steve Harvey, and I think Don Lemon's looking for a job, so we're keeping a close eye on him too. So Don, if you're watching, call me.
You know, Paul, you're right. Biden should be afraid to debate me. And, by the way, I'm going to pull this baby out of storage. I love this Springer. And I'm going to go to Senator Ernst Roast and Rye. I hope you enjoyed this week's series. I know I did. We did have a lot of fun. We made a lot of jokes. And the humor was in jest. But our country faces a serious crisis. We know we have a problem with crime in the streets. We have a problem with wokeness. We have a problem with our borders. We have a problem with parental rights. In fact, our nation has many problems. but the most serious problem facing us right now is our debt crisis. Let's face it, we are $32 trillion in debt. That number is so large, people can't even relate to it. But what it means is that we just sent a check for $900 billion for interest payments alone for this last year. Keep in mind that only 4 or 5 years ago, the amount we were spending in interest was a little less than half that. And right now, each and every one of you is spending roughly $610 a month for the interest payments on our debt. What that really means is that we put everything in peril. Social Security is in peril. Medicare's in peril. Our defense is in peril. And our whole way of life is in peril. But I have a 2-cent plan to solve it. And I laid out that plan. And it's a 10-step plan. I am the only person that's actually laid out a plan to solve our problem. But it's logical. Because let's face it, I am the only guy that is the outsider of outsiders. I spent my entire life bringing quality and efficiency to companies, and now I want to bring it to the federal government. I can do it. And we have always solved our problems. We in America have a history of always solving the problems at hand. We can go back to the very beginning of when we were founded. 250 years ago, we had to fight the most powerful army in the world. We had to do it without soldiers that were even trained. We had no guns, and we had a fledgling general by the name of George Washington. But we did the impossible. We beat the most powerful army in the history of the world because we were determined. And it's been that determination year after year that has put us at the forefront of the entire world. Whether you talk about Vanderbilt, Carnegie, Edison, Henry Ford, all the heroes that we have, it is the American people and that inside thrust inside them that has always caused them to solve the problem. And we'll solve it again. We're going to solve it with that 2-cent plan. And next week, let's talk about the real problem that is facing us. That is, maybe we could lose our status as the world currency. And that is something to think about, which we'll talk about next week. I'm Perry Johnson, and I approve this message.
Meet quality guru Perry Johnson. He's a rock-solid conservative like you and me. Perry loves statistics, motivation, quality,
perfection.
When your car door closes just right, thank Perry Johnson. When you even have a job in the American auto industry, thank Perry Johnson. American automobiles weren't always the gold standard. Perry Johnson literally wrote the book introducing ISO 9000 quality standards to the American automobile industry. Perry for president?
Can you really think of a profession more desperately in need of quality than government?
Perry says that by cutting just 2% of discretionary federal spending each year, the size of our bloated budget will soon be balanced. Watch Perry Johnson's behind-the-scenes television show every Sunday night on Newsmax. Perry Johnson is the candidate for president who can solve America's debt crisis.
I'm Perry Johnson, and I approve this message.